Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Praise and glory belongs to Allah, the eternal absolute, who created all things. Allah, who is Al-Hadi. Allah, who is Al-Alim, the guide. As you see this subject real quick right here, it's in response to the ayat, O you who believe, says, obey Allah, obey the messenger, and those with authority among you. If you differ in anything, refer back to Allah and his messenger. This is just going to be brief. So we have some people that believe that usually what we're told is that this is referring to hadith books. So I'm going to respond to this in a brief manner, just to throw some light on a few issues. First and foremost, that's just an interpretation that later on came to the Muslim community. But in actuality, in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, were believers who gave the bay'ah, gave the allegiance to the Prophet Muhammad, that they would listen to him and abide by things that he would say. And at that time, the Quran had not been fully revealed, and other ayahs would have to come to tell the Prophet the rulings that he would give believers and different things like that. So really, one, we got basically people would come to the Prophet and ask questions. And so that's what we're going to be approaching it as people who would ask the Prophet questions, okay, and they would get a response. Now, keep in mind, this is when the Quran is not fully revealed also. So we have that issue. First thing I want to say before I show some things about that is we have to understand that when in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, the believers, for example, would have to go to the Battle of Badr. So what I mean by that is, if a person came to me and said, "Oh, you who believe, obey Allah and obey the messenger," that means the hadith books, which it does not. What in actuality I would say back to that person is, take me to the messenger of Allah right now, right? If, "Oh, you who believe, obey Allah and the messenger, and those with authority among you," refer to hadith books, which they do not, because hadith books, kitab, a book, is something other than Rasulullah, messenger of Allah, right? So that's something completely different, right? With the hadith books, you could get a scholar to say, okay, this hadith, the Prophet said it, and then another scholar could actually disagree with that other scholar and say the Prophet did not say that. So that would not be no clear answer. It would just be people just taking opinions, right? But you're not knowing if really, truly, and factual that the Messenger of Allah really said such a thing. But the other thing is that if the Prophet Muhammad or the Messenger of Allah was alive and people came to him and asked a question and he gave an answer, that would be a definite answer, right? There would be no difference of opinion, you see. So the flesh and blood messenger of Allah is something different from hadith books, which scholars may differ with each other over whether the Prophet said it or not. So, "Oh, you believe, obey Allah and his messenger and those with authority among you," does not refer to abiding by hadith books to get your religious laws from, in which scholars could differ over whether he really said it or not. On the end of that, you would not be getting really what the messenger of Allah said, you see. And also, you would be getting what somebody else really opinion is. So what I want to do, I want to take you to a few ayats. Oh, the part where it says, if you differ in anything, refer back to Allah and his messenger, or the believers are to, or should I say rather, the part where it says, obey Allah, his messenger, and those with authority among you, right? That part is referring to a principle that the Quran mentions about shura, the believers having consultation with each other in their affairs, all right? So that could be at any time, right? The believers having consultation with each other in their affairs. If they differ in anything, refer back to Allah and his messenger, right? That would be the believers if they differ at the time of the Prophet, who when he was alive, and they differed with the prophet. Keep in mind, this is when the Quran was not fully revealed, and they would take it to the prophet and say, Ya Rasulullah, any question you think of. And then after that, Allah will reveal an ayat and tell them his ruling, which is what leads me to what I'm about to recite. So I'll take you to, now I sound like my brother Shuaib, but you can go to, let's see, what we're going to see right here is when a person asks the prophet something, right? So this is the point I want to focus on. There's many other points I could focus on, like people giving bayah, and that's the reason why they will listen to the prophet until the Quran is fully, completely revealed, because that's the mission of the prophet, is to bring the Quran, and at this time, the Quran is not fully complete. But I want to focus on the factor that when people would come to the prophet and ask them something, then an ayah would be revealed responding to those people or that person. Okay, and this would be some rulings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this shows that when people ask the Messenger of Allah something, it's Allah that responds with a revelation from the book. Okay. So Surah 17, Ayat 105. Surah 17, Ayat 105. We have sent down the Quran in truth. Hold on. Tell you what. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll read it. Surah 17, 105. And then I'll read some other ones, and I'll do a few of them in Arabic, I think. Inshallah. Surah 17, Ayat 15. So I want y'all to look this up. We have sent down the Quran in truth, and with the truth it has come down. We have sent you, O Prophet, only a deliverer of good news and a warner. It is a Quran we have revealed in stages, so that you may recite it to people at deliberate pace. And we have sent it down in successive revelations. Okay, so that first ayat is just basically letting you know that the Quran comes down. People, it was sent down in stages, and for him to say it on to the people, right? So that means stages over a course of time. So that would be to any question a person will ask, ayat revealed. Even if a person's not asking a question, ayat revealed. If a disbeliever said something, ayat revealed. Okay, till you have the full Quran and Allah has given you what you need to know. Let's see. So, also what I want to point you out to is Surah 5, Ayat 101. Now this is important. So people would come to the Prophet, right? 5:101. Okay, let's go to Surah 5:101. Surah 5:101 is very important. So people would come to question the Prophet, or people would say something, or people would differ, or they would have an issue, and this is how the response comes. I had it marked. Okay. O you who believe. So, O you who believe, do not ask about a matter which, if made clear to you, may disturb you. Now listen to this. But if you ask about it, what is being revealed, if you ask when the Quran is being revealed, it will be made clear to you. Allah has forgiven what was done in the past, and Allah is all forgiving, most forbearing. Some people, before you ask questions, then they denied their answers, right? So, you know, it's let's see, la amanu aladina ya ayahu Ya Yahuwah in ashyaha ya ashya an tasalu wa in tasukum lakum tubda yunazalu hina anha tasalu afa lakum tubda al-Quranu. Right? So it's very clear. It says tubda al-Quranu. Right? Tubda al-Quranu. Right? Oh, you see that. So when the Quran is being revealed, to ask questions when the Quran is being revealed. That's in Surah 5, 101. Then it will be made clear to you. 101. One more time. O believers, do not ask about any matter which it may clear to you may disturb you. But if you ask about it when the Quran is being revealed, when the Quran is being sent down, it will be made clear to you. So a person goes to the Messenger of Allah, asks him a question, and ayat comes down to be revealed. Right? We also see this in, let's give an example, a fatwa, like the word fatwa, right? A person comes to the Prophet, asks questions. So we go to Surah 4, ayat 176, right? So, and then it says, they ask you for a ruling. A ruling. They ask you for a ruling. Say, Allah gives you a ruling. So they come to the Prophet, they ask him a question. Allah is saying, they ask you for a ruling. Then it says, Allah gives you a ruling. Right? So it says, Allah gives you a ruling regarding those who die without children or parents. If a man dies childless and leaves behind a sister, she will inherit one half of his estate, whereas her brother will inherit all of her estate. If she dies childless, this person leaves behind two sisters, they together will inherit 2/3 of the estate. But if the deceased leaves male and female siblings, a male share will be equal to that of two females. Allah makes this clear to you. So you do not go astray. And Allah has perfect knowledge of all things. So 5101 stated, ask questions when the Quran has been revealed. Then we see it says Allah will reveal to you what basically he's going to say. It says ask when the Quran is being revealed and things will be made clear to you. Then we went over to ayat 4, 176, where it says they ask you for a ruling. And then it says, say Allah gives you a ruling. Right? Qul, say Allah gives you a ruling regarding those who die without children or parents. Right? Ruling regarding those who die without children or parents. If a man dies childless and leaves behind a sister, right? And you can find this this type of form of happening. You can go to Surah 4, ayah 127. Surah 4, ayah 127. And they seek 4 ayat 127, and they seek a ruling regarding women. Say Allah will give you a ruling, right? It says Kulli Allahu yuftikum, yuftikum, right? Kulli Allahu yuftikum fihanna wa ma yutla. So he's going to recite it to you, right? Wa ma yutla alaykum, onto you, right? Fi al-kitabi, right? In the book, right? So Surah 4, ayat 127. And they seek a ruling regarding women. Say, Allah will give you a ruling regarding them and what is being recited, right? Yutla alaykum fi al-kitabi, in the book, right? So he's reciting it onto you what is in the book. That's in Surah 4, ayat 127. You can find this also in Surah 4, ayat 176. Yastaf tunaka kuli Allahu yuftikum fi al kalati inna amru'un halaka laysa lahu waladun, right? Walakum falaha nisfu mataraka. Okay, so basically says they seek a ruling from you. Allah gives you a ruling. So once again it says Allah gives you the ruling. Quli Allah yuftikum, right? Quli Allahu yuftikum. Allah gives you the ruling. Allah gives you the fatwa. Okay, they come to you for a fatwa basically, and Allah, right, recites the fatwa onto you. So this is another example of when a person comes to the Messenger of Allah. He's coming to the Messenger of Allah, asking him questions, and then Allah reveals an ayat to respond to the question. So we have that. You can see that there's several ayats. I'm going to give you can look it up. Surah 4, ayat 127. Surah 4, ayat 176. You can also let's see. That's a good ones to really focus on. So Surah 4, 176. And I have my other ones here. Surah 4, 127. And you can see this, in many different other places inside the Quran where Allah reveals when people come to the Prophet, disbelievers come to the Prophet saying something, Allah reveals an ayat about that. Okay, they're coming to the Messenger of Allah. Because remember, the other ayat said, "O you who believe, obey Allah, His Messenger." And then it says, "And those with authority among you, if you differ in anything, refer back to Allah and His Messenger." So when people in the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad would come to him, ask him a question, not hadith books, where scholars could differ, whether the Prophet really said it or not. And then one scholar would say, yeah, the Prophet said this. And then another scholar would take the same hadith, the Prophet didn't say that. That's not the same thing, okay? The interpretation, you refer to the hadith books, right, is a later on interpretation that came after the time of the Prophet. During the life of the Prophet, when this ayat came, "O you who believe," to the people there, obey Allah and His Messenger, okay, they would come to the Messenger of Allah, the flesh and blood Messenger of Allah, ask him a question, and then an ayat would be revealed from Allah. You see, the Quran hadn't even fully completed yet. The mission hadn't been fully completed yet. So yes, the believers, when they would come to the Prophet, ask him questions, things would be revealed. So again, I remind you, it's about the Quran, right? Besides the bayah that they gave the Prophet. So the believers at the time of the Prophet gave him a bayah, and bayah is an exchange. We will listen, and we will obey. Allah gives paradise, we will aid you and help you in your mission. Okay, that's for those people at that time. See, people keep quoting ayats out of context, and then they say this is the hadith books. No, it's not. Hadith book is a kitab. Kitab is something different, right? So we know the Prophet came with this kitab, right? Situations that would happen, Allah revealed an ayat or ayats to the situation. So it's referring to the Quran then. So you believe, obey Allah, His messenger, those with authority among you. Well, like Surah 5, Ayat 101 would say. What did it say? I'm going to go back in English with it. You can look it in Arabic and you can see it. 5:101 instructs the believers what? Let's see what it instructs the believers to do. Five 101. O you who believe, do not ask about things. So first time, do not ask about things which if made clear to you may disturb you. Then it says, but if you ask about it when the Quran is coming down, when it is being revealed, you see, when the Quran is coming down, ask when the Quran is coming down, then it will be made clear to you. You see that? So going to the messenger of Allah, you get a response from Allah through his messenger through the ayats of Allah. That is the meaning, obey Allah, obey his messenger. You see? Now, the believers at that time, they took a bay'ah to him. An exchange. A bay'ah means an exchange. And they said, we get the paradise, we will aid you and help you in your mission. Okay? So they aided him and helped him in his mission to spread the truth. Right? Until years and years, the Quran was revealed stage by stage by stage by stage, responding to disbelievers, responding to believers. Believers had questions. Ayats would come down, right? Until finally Allah decided to give them enough of what he wanted to give them. Then he completed it. Till I perfected your religion, bestowed upon you Islam as your religion. Finalized and completed the book, said he would preserve it. And that is what was passed on to the people for the people to follow. You see, after the Prophet, the book after the Prophet. If you go look at some of my videos, you'll see where I quoted the ayats that on the Day of Judgment, Allah will ask them how they dealt with the messenger as far as containing the book he gave them. You see, when Isa came, he had the Injil, not the four Gospels. When Musa came, he had the Torah, not the Torah and the Talmud. When Muhammad came, it took years and time for the revelations to come down through the different situations till it was fully complete with everything that you needed. He came with you the book of guidance. And then that was it. Then later on, people started elevating other books that people may have written. You see, and they say, oh, this goes with, oh, you who believe, obey Allah and his messenger. This is the Quran and this is the Hadith books. You see, that's a later interpretation. That is not what was happening when the Quran was coming down. Because they had the flesh and blood messenger of Allah that when they would ask a question, Allah would reveal the matter. Right? So that's why I said it was going to be brief. I think I'll do another one that's more in depth with the. But that's basically what, as far as O you who believe. Now look at this. O you who believe, obey Allah's messenger, those with authority among you. If you differ in anything, refer back to Allah and his messenger. Okay. If you say that's right now, okay, if you say that the part obey Allah and his messenger is right now and we differ and we go back to the messenger of Allah, I'm going to tell you, take me to the messenger of Allah right now. Rasulullah. I want you to take me to the Rasulullah. Not the Hadith Kitab. Not the Hadith books. That a scholar, I have to go by his opinion. It's not the same. Because not all scholars will agree. Not all scholars will agree that the Prophet said that thing. So you have a Hadith, right? Let me show you what it's like. You have a Hadith. A scholar does his science of Hadith. He says it's Sahih. The Isnad, the Matin, Sahih. Okay. Another scholar comes. He does the science of hadith that they came up with. He disagrees with the other scholar. He says, no, Rasulullah did not say that. That's not sahih. That's da'if. It's weak. Okay? Or it's something not to be go by, right? Or it's marfu, or it's, whatever category they have, that they terminology they made up. Okay? These two scholars differ. So that's not the same as, that's not a clear-cut messenger of Allah saying something to you. Because I tell you what, if the messenger of Allah was here, and you went and asked him a question, and he told you the answer, do you have a difference of opinion? Can you have a difference of opinion? Can you say he didn't say that? If he literally tells you, the messenger of Allah, Rasulullah, tells you no or yes, can you have a difference of opinion? Did he say that or not? No, you cannot. You see the difference? So going back to the messenger of Allah is not going back to hadith books. Because going back to hadith books is dependent upon somebody else's opinion. Whereas going to the messenger of Allah, that is dependent upon what Allah is going to say to you through his messenger. And you don't have no opinion in that matter. You see, you go a different path other than that, then you're going astray. And there is no difference of opinion in that. So obey Allah and obey the messenger, or obey Allah and obey the messenger, those with authority among you. Those with authority among you, that's a different issue. Those with authority among you, if that's for all times, and you go to the ayat that deals with the principles of shura. Believers anywhere, they can consult each other on their affairs, or what's going on around them. Okay? But as far as going to Allah and his messenger, the messenger, when people would go to him, ayats would be revealed to what Allah wanted people to know through his messenger. You see? So that is the difference between going by hadith books and you quoting the ayat, oh, you believe, obey Allah and his messenger, right? It's not the same thing. You would not get the same result. Okay? So, inshallah, I hope I made some things clear. I think, let's see. Ya Yuha. Okay, Ya Yuha. Aladina Amanu. O you who believe. La Tasalu. Don't ask. And about Ashya'a, things. Intubda lakum tasakum, right? That if it's made clear to you, it may distress you, right? Why in tasalu anha hinna yunazalu, right? But if you ask about it when it is being revealed, yunazalu. Okay, when it's being revealed, yunazalu al-Qur'anu. Okay, when the Quran is being revealed. If you ask it when the Quran is being revealed, tubda, it will be made clear. Lakum, clear unto you. Right? So, you got to ask, hinna yunazalu, right? When it's being revealed. When the Quran is being revealed. Yunazalu al-Quran. Right? Al-Quranu, excuse me. Got a few distractions going on. Yunazulu al-Quranu, right? When the Quran is being revealed, then tubda, it will be made clear to you. Tubda lakum, it will be made clear to you, or clear on to you, right? So understand that this is, that would be in Surah 5, Ayat 101. Okay, so That is basically the principle. When people will come to the Prophet, these believers are supposed to ask the questions when the Quran is coming down. Okay. Now there are some hadith books, and this is the trick that's played. Some hadith books and some other things that try to use this ayat and say the Prophet is making something clear to you, on his own or something like that, right? And people are asking about what inheritance, what lineage they come from, who is their father, and things like that. I mean, it just make up all type of stuff for this, right? But when you read the ayat for the ayat itself, it's very clear. Okay, for a person that ponders over the ayats of Allah, like the Quran tells you to ponder over the ayats of Allah, you directly engage the ayats and ponder over them. You directly engage them and reflect on them. You can see it very clearly that they asking questions that certain questions that may disturb them, or questions that may cause them problems, or have something may mandatory upon them, right? And they were asking the Prophet, and so Allah is telling them, ask it when the Quran is being revealed. Then it will be made clear to you, right? So the response comes from Allah. I showed you in the other ayats where it talked about he gave the fatwa. People came to the Messenger of Allah, asked him about an issue, and he gave them a fatwa. He gave them revelation about certain things dealing with inheritance, well, for that example, right? So that's how that worked. So when you go to the Messenger of Allah, the response is from the Quran. The response is from Allah. It is not from hadith books. That interpretation came later on in Muslim history. Okay? So, inshallah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Praise and glory belongs to Allah, who is Al-Hadi, the guide, who is Al-Alim, the all-knowing, the one who gives you the bayan, the clarity, the understanding. He's the one that gives you the tafsir, the explanation, and then the Prophet, after he has given it to his Prophet, reveals it on or gives it to the people, the response of Allah on certain issues. We are satisfied with what Allah has revealed, and everything that he has said, anything that he has given us as far as information. That is the thing that he wants us to have. Any doubts that people may have, thinking that something's not fully detailed, that's an issue with them. That's not an issue with the lesson that Allah's teaching in his book when you reflect on it. All right? So, last but not least, if a person keeps saying, oh, you believe obey Allah, obey his messenger means hadith books, I'm going to simply just ask you a simple question according to the ayat is, take me to the messenger of Allah, Rasulullah, not kitab, not the hadith books, right? Take me to the Rasulullah so that I may give him my bayah, my allegiance, the messenger of Allah, so I may give him my allegiance, and then we can go to the battle of Badr. We can go to the battle of Uhud. You see, you understand? The context of the ayahs that they're quoting out of context. And it does not have anything to do with really what they're trying to say it has to do with. Okay? So, because that ayat came around the time when what? The Quran was not fully complete. Other ayahs had not come down yet. You see? So, when you quote those ayahs, they're quoting out of context when they say refer to the hadith books. Right? Because that's not even what the history of the Quran reveals when that ayah was coming about. Right? There was more situations that need to happen even after that. But as far as a general principle, a person wants to draw out of it, they want to, and they want to say, well, what about, you'll believe if you disagree with each other, refer to an Allah's messenger. Truly that's referring to in the time of the Prophet when they had the messenger of Allah with him, and they could refer to him, right? And then the ayat would come down, right? But if you want to know about, if you want to try to draw a principle out of that, some people did that. They drew some principles from it. So they said, well, if we differ with anything, so this is an interpretation they came up with. If we, the believers today, differ with anything, then what we do, it says messenger of Allah, so we refer to the hadith books. We'll go to the Quran and then we'll go to a hadith book. Most people just go to a hadith book or a tafsir, so-called tafsir, right, which is really a hadith book, right? They'll refer to that. And they'll say they're living up to that ayat, which they're not. See? Because that's a later interpretation, right? And today, if we differ, Allah has another ayah where he talks about shura, consultation. The believers conduct their affairs with each other in consultation. Now, that ayah would be a command for all times. You see, it's for every time frame, right? But the other one is just it's contextually for those believers who fought, who was at Badr, Hud, and Khandaq, and who gave the bayah. So I mean, that's basically the context. So, inshallah, I hope I clarified it. Go look the ayats up that I provided. Reflect on the ayats yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.